Hi everyone. We are in that window in between two eclipses, the lunar eclipse that just went by and the solar eclipse that's coming on April 8th. And a couple questions that were simmering and was sensed in the field. And this video is in response to that, and particularly this question that has come up quite a few times. So I figured I'll make this video. In my Shivratri video, I shared about Shiva's message, that which is, of course, us as pure consciousness, that we are timeless, and therefore the sankalpa at this time, right, we're moving through this potent time, this window especially, and even beyond that, of course, it's timeless, is to stand as the living intention, I am, and not to add a future, past, or any kind of linear time frame and concept to it. And then actually from that arose the whole question and a whole discussion about is it then faking it till we make it? Like we've heard it, right? Like it's like fake it till you make it. So this is in response to that kind of just decoding that fake it till you make it. Because there seems to be a lot of confusion about that and its understanding. So, of course, before we jump into that, we'll briefly do a centering and come into our space. And right now, like I said, linearly speaking, right? Again, context is everything. So if you're speaking at the terms of our truer identity as true self, then of course, you're just awareness, you are. Linearly speaking, and everything that happens at the linear level, all practices, whatever we do is for the body, the psychological thinking I, and the world for that paradigm. I'm setting the foundation for that very key. This is one of the first videos you're ever watching. So in that context, right? So for that linear experience, right, that whole experience, we are currently moving through a very, very potent window that arises, arrives between these two eclipses. And especially at this time, right, because the shift has already happened at the energetic level, and what is showing up, right, because the senses, what is perceived by the five sensory system, by the known mind, comes up later, one may say that way, it's simultaneous. It is experienced as later. I want to kind of really clarify that as well. It's simultaneous. It's because consciousness is timeless, all is now. So when we are as the now, that's why in the now we are awareness. None of this needs to be even shared. We kind of split this for the identity that we are very familiar with, and this is of course always in context for the seeking Dwaparayuga unconscious mind, that play when we are identified as the seeking that asks all these questions. So for that, we see, right, that comes up and shows up at the level of the senses, the amount of time, linear time, that state of consciousness is living at. It's a vibrational rate, literally. Right? It experiences things appearing at the sensory level as if it arises later. What is the self is experienced as the reality. That's where the perceiver, the perceived is the same, and all there is actually is the perceiving of it, experiencing of it. So I'll just let it be at that for this one. So let's kind of center ourselves a little bit before we jump into that. So finding ourselves a comfortable space. Somewhere where we won't be disturbed, ideally, for some time. Taking the attention to the breath, observing the breath that is already breathing the body. feeling the body. Sensing Mother Earth's support under our feet or under our hips. Acknowledging that this body and its plate, that consciousness, that which we are, is playing as to experience physicality, belongs to this realm in which the mother is Mother Earth. Right? The body is an extension of her, and she eternally supports. We are nourished by her, we are supported by her. So as we sit kind of sensing our deep connection and feeling the support that she has unconditionally, eternally offered. Sensing the innate intelligence of the body with how the body is functioning even when the mind that we are so aware of, that we think is the me mind, is not doing anything, minding. The body is beautifully functioning. Feeling the vertical spine. Sensing the perfection in which the way the skull is balanced over the torso, with the spine. And with every breath, kind of just dropping into that center. Allowing the eyeballs to fall back, eyelids to close, relaxing the scalp, the face, the mouth, the jaw, the tongue. Feeling behind the ears, the neck, the shoulders, upper arms, elbow, lower arms, hands, fingers. Just for these few moments, just being. Belly soft, steady back. Sensing the quiet strength of the thighs and the legs, the feet. Just with every breath, feeling the whole alive presence of the body. Allowing the sensing of like a centered space of being. Sensing the presence as a field. It's radiating even beyond the edges of the dense body. Just being as this open, settled, centered space. Pure isness. I amness. You can just absolutely stay in this space and sense whatever words arise in the field, and sensing the field as one, whether it is on this side of the screen or the other side. Consciousness cannot be fragmented. So really sensing it as an alive one field. And just being. Just observing that whatever words arise in the field, allowing it to drop, create whatever ripples it needs to create. So we may have heard of this quote. It's especially popular, I think, many years ago, where we really hear it. Fake it till you make it. So we set the context for that. Right? As I shared, it came up because in a couple of my last videos since Mahashivratri, sharing about the message and of course, sharing about the nature of consciousness and the truer reality, right? Because everything is state of consciousness. So a more expansive state of consciousness, state of mind, which is timeless, right? That we are simply awareness beyond linear time. All is now. And that can be a powerful gateway for the unconscious Dwaparayuga mind to see that instead of living an intention in linear time space and putting it in the future, Shiva's message to just be. I am Sankalpa. I am intention. It started coming across as, does that mean we fake it till we make it? And then the whole can of worms from that, right? What that really means and how it is understood. So this is about kind of decoding that a bit. So first and foremost, every state of consciousness and mind, right, that is manifest consciousness, mind, lives its own nature and its own playground. And it's very different from another state of consciousness and its reality. So the first and foremost, so that's why there is no one answer or one truth at the level of relative play as mind. Right? So we start at the core because you can't answer this really without addressing first and foremost what is the identity, right? Or what is the nature of the mind. That will determine whether it's faking it or not. So before that, for the Dwaparayuga state of mind, and if these terms are a little bit, what I really mean is the state of duality, that which we are very familiar with, the third density body-mind world, where we are identified with our thoughts, right? We live in the linear time-space continuum, right? We are identified and moving as a concept. I've shared quite a bit about that, so I won't go into that. But the thing that I want to share here is that the seeking mind that asks the question, this is phenomena, right? Of course, as consciousness, again, I want to set that, which is very, very key. As consciousness, I play as all states of consciousness, right? So from that aspect that we are consciousness, there is no hierarchy to this, right? It's all equanimous. I want to name that. So for the Dwaparayuga state of mind, duality, that play, and I've shared quite a few videos about that as well, which is as consciousness, we don the veil of unconscious, which is, that's why an illusion. All unconsciousness is illusion because there is nothing outside of consciousness. Consciousness is all there is. But the play, right? For Shiva to experience the play as Shakti, as infinite minds and realities and illusions, both are the same, the way that you look at it. As mind, right? And mind is the faculty through which consciousness limits itself to experience different worlds, different realities, different dreams, however you want to see it, different stories. So consciousness for the dual mind, right, state of consciousness, Dwaparayuga, which is unconscious. I want to name that as well, because when it's conscious, which is fourth density, where we still find ourselves in the sense, in the play of duality, right, appearing as if in the body we are living in a world that seems outside, but the inner state, we really know that all is one, right? The heart is open. It's heart-driven consciousness in that sense, right? We sense the oneness that there is. I am, all is. But when it's unconscious, right, when we are familiar, when we were identified as a person, that's the unconscious play. That means the identity is that I'm a separate person and that there is a world outside. So consciousness splits itself. But this is simply one part, right? The part is not just that it splits itself. This is very key. That it turns away. And this is phenomena that allows for the tasting of this state of consciousness as the unconscious Dwaparayuga, right? That it turns away from itself, from the other part, right? So it turns away. So it sees itself as a separate thing. And this creates the whole phenomena. Like that's why we say or paradigm. Right? It cannot hold the and. It cannot hold multitudes. It's a one-dimensional identity. As a person, I'm a separate self because it's identified naturally with the body and its thinking I, which is the conditions that it has taken on from the world, that is determines its condition Y, and then the play of the world as if the world is outside, right? So this is the phenomena to set it up. What is its reality? Right? Identity is everything, right? The state of consciousness. So when we are identified as matter, right, as a body, right, and then that's why we say energetically it's a masculine dominant energetic experience, and that's why we move as intellectualized, right? That is our reality. What my five senses can see, if I can touch it, I can see it, I can taste it, then it's real for me. And that's why it lives in a world of matter, right? It's a objectifying mind, because that's the nature of the senses. Senses and mind, one and the same, right? The vibratory nature. So it believes that. So it lives the experience of objects. So for it, the reality is the tangible reality, what it labels naturally, right? For it, that's its facts. So it plays in that world. So we play in that. Naturally, for this mind, right? And this mind, when it starts seeking, especially, it's questioning life now, right? What is really true, or however we want to question it. Then, right, it's sensing, because all is consciousness. So, like I said always, the seeking mind is energetically already an awakened mind in that sense, experientially. That's why the seeking even begins, because it's already being sensed at the subtle level. But because this mind is identified with its known mind and self, what it calls as the conscious, right, its five senses, it naturally does not validate its subtle sensing, because it's fragmented itself. Consciousness in this play fragments itself. You can see it as the conscious mind, subconscious and unconscious. It stands as the known body-mind world, and that is why for it the subconscious and the unconscious is the unknown. So for it the reality naturally for us at that point is everything that I can touch, I can taste, what I can see. And that's why, when we live as this mind, naturally, if we have it, then that is reality for us. If we are living it at the tangible level, right? So it naturally believes that. So that's why it chases after things that it wants, right? It defines its success Like if I have money in the bank, then I'm abundant. So, and that is its framework. All part of the play, right? Phenomena, I want to name that. So I'm just giving a small example. It comes up in many different ways. So what happens? Right? That's its reality. It's going to do that. It cannot, first of all, it doesn't even sense a lot of the subtle things that are happening because it is vibrating at a level where our focus is completely as the known mind. So at the subtle level, whatever is coming up, it doesn't even sense it till it gets too loud. And even if it senses, it does not, it cannot comprehend that is reality too, because it doesn't see or does not know at that point and hasn't experienced yet that I am consciousness. And what is consciousness? As the nature of awareness. That what is in my awareness is not outside of myself. It is vibrating and focused as the body, as a smaller. And that's why it experiences the world of movement, right? Whatever the body experiences, there's complete movement in the world all the time. Emotions up and down, right? The body changes. That's why it thinks it's born and it's going to die. That's the identity. We have no idea at that point that still aware space. I am that. Right? I'm awareness within which this body is doing. That is not available for us at that point. So naturally, coming back to this, when this mind is invited to fake it till you make it, it naturally seems fake, right? So when we say, like, stand, what is it that, for example, right, we're saying, look at who you really admire, right? Because we are living at the level of the body, we are living only at the level of form. So we see, somebody inspires us and all of that stuff. Then we say, who do we really admire, right? And many people say, like be like that person, like fake it till you make it, right? And that is given. And that is given with that intention, that sensing into that, the vibration, because everything is energy, right? When we sense into somebody else that we admire and we sense into their state of consciousness from which they are living, right? We really sense from the space that they come, how they speak, what they do, how they are living in the world, right? And how all of that, when the more and more, again, awareness, whatever we are focused on, we start vibrating as that. Now, of course, there's a catch there, that if you're conscious, if you're unconscious, then if we carry a belief that is not possible for me, then that also becomes a barrier, right? So that's why many people say, okay, fake it till you make it. Because what happens is when you really start embodying that, faking it, your vibration starts, everything is energy. You start moving like it, you start speaking like it, whatever that higher possibility. And that's why for the personal mind, also say, sense what is your highest possibility and stand as that. Right? So when you start vibrating, start totally experiencing that for yourself. What would it be to sit like this? What would it be to move like this? How would a person who holds this kind of beliefs do that? Right? So, but the masculine dominant mind, the unconscious Dwaparayuga mind, will naturally still label it as faking till you're making it, because for its reality, which is, if I have it, if I'm living it, if I am it, then I can say it's real. If I am not it, then it is fake. And this is one of the catches, right? Because it is identified as the body as a separate self and those beliefs. And at the level of the body, which is the personal self again stands as a no, as resistance, right? So its way of seeing itself, it does not realize that which I am sensing in and as awareness, that which I am aware of, I already am. Because there is no way we can sense something without it already being a part of us. That is the nature of consciousness. Everything that we are aware of is a part of our consciousness. To sense even a possibility, to even see it, or to be moved by it, to be, for that to resonate for us. Our state of consciousness has to be vibrating with that. Otherwise, we won't even see it. We won't even notice it. It won't even be in our awareness. So we are already it. And it's at the subtler sensing. Now, when we are awakened at this level of I am awareness, then we can see that very clearly, right? Because we are not fragmented anymore. We see the nature of the known mind and its thinking, which is for the world, right? The intellectual mind. But the intellectual mind is not thinking I'm the only one, it's not leading. Right? Now is the integrated, where the feminine and the masculine are integrated. Right? So everything arises from the subtle sensing. You sense that. And you know it's not outside of you. What is sensed, what moves me. Right? We are not fooled by the fact that we see an outer world. When we realize that there is no inner outer, it's simply pure experiencing, self is reality, then it's like that integrated, right? As one consciousness. It's not broken up into conscious mind, subconscious mind, known, unknown. No. There's still being. Right? And we realize that being state, what is sensed, and this is what I also want to name, and probably make another video on this, about desires, right? That's been a big topic. So, same thing with desire. What is sensed as a desire already is. It's only the personal mind that sees as if the desire is outside of it and turns away, or turns as a doer to make it happen. Doesn't realize that, oh, it's already here. And if I just sense into it and align with it, the natural living of it will happen. Right? It lives opposite, and that's why it plays the game of, attracting it and all of that without knowing that I am it. Right? It's all, the primary thing is vibration. Right? I am mind, all is mind. So this is very, very key to kind of really get. Now, coming back to this, right? Faking till you make it. So naturally, an unconscious Dwaparayuga mind will speak its truth, which is its reality, right? There are no truths outside, right? Independent of the mind. It is always subjective to the state of consciousness and mind. So for that, Dwaparayuga mind, unconscious mind, its truth and its reality is that it's going to say that's faking it because it's identified with the known mind, the tangible. If I have it, it always says, right? Like, I'll show me and then I will believe. It's living outside in, right? That's part of the play. It doesn't realize that being it allows for seeing it and living it. And being it is all there is really to it, pure experiencing. Right? So it plays the opposite game. So naturally, it will say that. And one of the things that came up that I really want to point out here, which will be very helpful, because the thing that was coming up is this clash because of the lack of understanding, right? When we don't see things with clarity, and especially that's why for me the inspiration to share about mind as a phenomena. It's like mind has a structure, right? Especially from our perspective where we're looking at it from. It's like a car, right? It really helps to know the mechanics of a car, at least at the simplest level. This is the brake, this is the accelerator, and all of that. And then that's enough. That gives us enough. That, of course, the journey is an ever-folding mystery. That's different. But that helps. That really helps, right? So to see this as phenomena is very helpful, because when we do not see it as this complete phenomena, that understanding is not there, then we take on things like this. And this is one of the snags that I want to share about that comes up very often. And this is often comes up even in the world where there is a clash between non-duality and embodiment teachers and practices. They're not two, they're one and the same when we fully see them for what it is. Awareness and the ever-changing nature of experience, they're not two, they're one and the same, simply appearing as opposites. Right? So, what happens is when it is shared with the unconscious Dwaparayuga dual mind, right? Fake it till you make it. Now, to realize that this unconscious Dwaparayuga mind, its nature is that it has turned away, right? It just observe this, what it does, right? When we are identified as this person, it always moves from one level to another by diminishing the previous state or negating it or rejecting it. That's why it's the or paradigm. It doesn't know how to hold the and. It cannot hold both. It cannot. That's why it's a one-dimensional state of consciousness. So that's why it can't hold multitudes. It does not know, right? Everything is identity. Everything is the nature of mind. It cannot perceive its multi-dimensional nature, fluid, timeless, and as if appearing, and there's dimensionality to it at the level of soul. It is identified at the one-dimensionality as a person. Right? So what happens is, because of that, it can only be focused as that one dimension. So that's why person, this is my reality, it's identified with that. And not only that, it is as resistance. So that's why you see it will, when we are as a person, it's like you see the narratives of standing against. It doesn't understand the dynamics of energy. Right? So it stands against something without realizing that there is no outer. What it stands against is the energy that it is living. Right? That's why very key task, like you're not really forgiving anybody else. Forgiveness is not for anybody else, because there is nobody else. It's the energy. You're actually forgiving for yourself. You're invited to forgive for yourself, right? So all that. So it cannot even accept. It does not feel complete. That is the nature, because standing as a separate self, as a known mind, is to cut ourselves off from the source, right? From the source, that is the conscious causal body, the subconscious subtle body, all of that, and standing separate. So that's why we stand as lack, we stand as scarcity. And we are so tethered to the world of matter. We look outwards. That's the five senses. That's why facing outwards. So it's a phenomenon that allows for that experience, right? How will we taste as consciousness otherwise, right? All there is consciousness, pure abundance without an opposite. It is through limiting ourselves we experience all of this. But when this is not known, I'm kind of really setting up the foundation. So, when this is not known, right, and then the mind that is given these instructions, okay, fake it till you make it, what happens is that in order to be something, its nature is, that's why, force and effort, and it suppresses. Now what happens is, the minute we start vibrating at a higher level of consciousness, right, let's say we are living and faking into a larger possibility. As soon as a state of consciousness expands, it cannot hold within it the lower vibratory beliefs and energetic patterns that are in the body, right? And as subconscious mind, what happens? It all starts coming up. And if we don't know how it works, the phenomena, it comes up to be seen. All we have to do is see it. Once you see it, oh, I was living that, it's gone. But because if you're still identified as the Dwaparayuga mind, and if you're doing that, then what happens? In order for me to be that possibility, I cannot be feeling these things because that is of lower consciousness, right? So what do we do? What is the person going to do? What it does, it's simply phenomena. There's no separate person trying to do this. It suppresses, right? And that's the force. It turns away, it rejects and denies, perpetuating the angst, right? And that is also, that came up with the flavor of inauthenticity, right? I'm trying to be something or someone else, but deep within my body feels different, right? Our body feels different because we don't see this phenomena. We don't see the nature. Right? All is a state of consciousness, and that's why to stay aware. When we are aware, and then we can see whatever comes up is the old that's coming up. It's a blessing, it's a celebration. Right? You allow it to move or stay or whatever, allow everything. And you stand in your now truer reality. But the Dwaparayuga unconscious mind will not call it reality, right? Because it's identified with the reality of matter. And then for it, it's faking it. So that's the catch, that angst. So kind of just laying that out. So see the phenomena. So what the Dwaparayuga unconscious mind, that's why we'll call faking it, is not the same for the awakened state of mind. Because as the awakened state of mind, your consciousness. What I am conscious of, there is no hierarchy to that. Even if I'm sensing it, it is my reality already. Right? And one can put it this way, that it's birthing itself. And that is why the awakened mind at the subconscious and at the unconscious, like at the unknown, allows, deeply senses. Right? The new world is not apart from us, right? The world, a new state of being is born from within us. Right? That's why the invitation to go inwards and sense, each of us will uniquely sense that and bring that forth. That creates the world, the sharing of that, the being, even before sharing, the being of that creates that world, right? Such exciting times that we're living in, really, at this point. Of course, I'm stating this at the level of consciousness, ultimately one self, one divine self, living its reality. It appears like that. As the self changes, it appears as if its world is also changing. It's a fascinating thing to see. So anyway, coming back to this. So for an awakened or a more conscious state of mind, there is no faking it. What is its fact? What is its reality? It's reality. Once I see a higher possibility, the ability that I'm even able to see it is a celebration. That means I am already it. I won't even be able to perceive or sense into something. Right? It will not. That's not a possibility. Right? So state of consciousness, that's why consciousness is primary. And what does that mean? Is like awareness is primary. What I am aware of already is. What is the nature of reality? The self is reality. Self is experiencing reality. Is awareness. The nature of consciousness is to be conscious. That's primary. What I am conscious of is my being. It's not outside of me. So now, based on that, that's not faking it. That is being it. That is taking our stand. It already is. And this is fact. So that's why there is no waiting. There is no looking outwards, right? The personal mind that is looking outwards waits. When will it come into tangible reality? It has all kind of definitions about what should I have at the level of tangibility for me to feel like I am that. Do I need to have that kind of success that is outside, or that kind of money, or whatever that might be? That kind of body, beauty, everything. That's part of the play. It's not about having. It is about being. And if we can sense it as awareness, it already is being. So there's no gap. There's no need to add time to anything. Time is only added by the five senses linear mind, because that's its identity. It's going to do that. So that was the invitation. So just want to kind of really open this out and sense it. Yeah. Each state of mind is a context. It lives its own reality. And that's why taking the time to say this, because a lot of responses, that's why that come forth, is a response to the question, context, the state of consciousness that is asking. So you can imagine, for the ones who were sharing this initially with the Dwaparayuga state of consciousness, were sharing it to invite it into this. Right? If you sense that, begin by faking it, sense into it. That's what it is. We don't need to put a, diminishing narrative to everything. Right? It's like invitation. Why don't you go sense what that state of consciousness, it's so exciting. And that's why, it's a celebration when we see a perceived another, because there is no other, it's all consciousness. But that appears in form in our awareness and is living something that we would love to live, let's say, as a separate self when we are in that identity. It's a celebration because, what they are living is a celebration as what I am living, because there's no difference between that which I am and what they are in that sense. Right? It's consciousness. That is that unifying, that is that oneness. Oneness is not something that can be experienced at the level of the five senses. Right? We insist upon that. It's not something we can see, because the five senses is the segregating faculty of the mind that allows us to experience this diversity. Oneness is that state where the heart is open. It's a feeling state. And as the heart starts opening, you feel the oneness. You feel all is me. And then you can just be next to a bush or a tree and feel one with it. Yeah, because you're not only looking at the level of form. Right? And that's when true compassion comes, without any kind of hierarchy or diminution, where another person's struggle can be so deeply sensed as yours, because there's really no difference. But when you're aware, you can hold that space because you know who you are, right? In that sense. Then that is that space that you can hold for another. Right? So I'm going to that. But I just wanted to kind of just open this out, because there was so much coming up, and then the talk about how this faking, making, rejects the wisdom of the body, right? Like how to not do it. That's not it. It's this. It's one and the same. So the invitation again, why is all of this coming? Because this window, the whole world that is perceived, that we have put outside of us, is like symbols. And our way of understanding and seeing that symbol depends on our level of awareness. Right? So even for the Dwaparayuga mind, it's an invitation. Just see with what lens you're relating with that. That will determine the experience, because all there is the experience. Our experience is the experience of reality. That's all there is to it. Reality is mind. Mind is a verb. It's pure experiencing it. How am I experiencing another? How am I experiencing my world? Right? That's a fascinating one. When we We know that which we are. Now I go around and like, what do I look at? It's like you just see deeper, beyond the facade or the conditioned lens that carries idea. This means that meaning, automatic meaning making, right? That we may have taken on, all that washes away, and then when we sense behind that facade, and then we feel, and that feeling is there. Now it's a world of symbolism, right? It's the soul living. And in that, these kind of portals that come, that's why the energetic sensing of it. So even when we are in this play of inner and outer, now we know that cosmic phenomena is not outside of us, as if apart from us, like these eclipses that are coming and all of that stuff. The ability to, even for this powerful, potent window to be present right now, is because the state of consciousness that I'm vibrating at already is. Right? The linear mind thinks like there is a separate reality that is happening. It's not like that. We get to see everything that comes into awareness, that comes into awareness and are deeper sensing it because we are in that state of consciousness. So this window, like for example, if you find this video or these kind of videos that really resonate or whatever, it's not a mere coincidence. There's any reason if you resonate to it. Similarly, so this window is very, very potent. It's like a portal. It's like a portal. It's very, very powerful portal for two things, right? Healing, evolving, I always say. Two sides of the same coin, but the experience of it depends on the identity. If you're living as a linear past, future mind, then if you're facing towards that, you'll always keep feeling, oh my God, I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing. I hold this in context when I share this because words mean different things. When we know as consciousness, the healing happens, right? But we are celebrating the evolving, right? And it's both at the one time. So similarly, at this time, we allow this portal for the body and the mind to become empty, open, luminous, deep sensitivity to what is appearing as my reality. All that is me. What is coming up. And then we stand at what is the new that is emerging. There's no world created outside of us. We are the ones who are creating this world. Each of our ideas, our thoughts are coming together, creating it. Right? So what is the new that is emerging, and the way that each state of mind sees it, feels into it, it's a unique gift, will be unlike anybody else feeling it. So it's very key. So that was the invitation. So April 8th is our total solar eclipse. So stay present, stay aware, and above all, There's only one divine being. There's only consciousness already living. So every moment, whatever there is, pure perfection unfolding. And to living and celebrating that which is us. An awakened body, mind, world. Swadharma. Every swa is a beautiful living and experiencing of its own nature, dharma. Much love. Grateful for being. I'll see you next time.